Now joining me in studio to discuss the upcoming show, The Gold Rush at the Broome County Forum Theater, performist, organist, and musicianist Dennis James, and BTOS president-producer Nancy Wildonner. Hi guys, how you doing today?
Hey, good.
Wonderful, thank
I've
you.
never been called a musicianist.
That was my bad. I can't read today, I guess. So tell me about you and you're a musicianist.
My musicianist
I
career.
can't even say that.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I began my interest in silent movies back in the 1950s. I'm 74 years old. And so when I was growing up, they used to fill the airtime because movies were in public domain. Mm-hmm. And so on Saturday morning for the children's show, they just showed these silent movies. And my mother said, one time she asked me, I was 6 years old, and she said, "Danny, why do you get up and go to the television and turn the sound off?" And I said, because I have better music in my head than they're playing with those movies.
Okay,
looking to the future. So I've made a profession out of playing for silent movies, and I studied with people who did it. They were all in their 80s when I was working with them, and now here we are.
That's awesome, and especially when you're younger and you kind of build that up to be able to do what you want to do since you were younger.
I
That's
decided
awesome.
when I was 14, and nobody told me that it was dead. Dead. This is 100 years ago. This movie's 100 years old. But no, I believe that it was all valuable and real, and when I'm playing, it is.
Yeah, and to keep this going a little bit, so you are with the BTOS, so tell us what that is and kind of its missions a little bit.
Sure, it's the Binghamton Theater Organ Society. We were founded by Paul Staple in 2006. And we put on some productions at the Roberson Museum where there was a Link organ, and also at the Forum Theater. And that organ was installed in the late 70s with Dennis as the first musician to dedicate the organ at its opening. And we put on 4 different events a year. We take membership donations, and you get a discount on your tickets if you come to the shows. And recently, especially since COVID, it's been great to have Dennis come quite frequently, at least twice a year, to perform for us. Well, for one thing, because he's probably the best at what he does in the country. Personally, that is my opinion. And he also lives not too far away in the Elmira area, so it's easier for us to get him to the Forum Theater. And he knows the instrument really well, too.
Yeah, no, what a compliment. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That's it, the best.
Yeah, and when
I think so.
Yeah, and I went to church when I was younger. I used to go all the time, and I always thought that the organ was so beautiful, like such a beautiful sound, and it's so intricate, and there's so much going on. So how do you think that really the organ going along with this show particularly really enhances it?
Well, in this particular case, Charlie Chaplin was a musician before he was an actor. When he was a child, he thought he was going to be a cellist, and he practiced 8 to 10 hours a day. And he was so left-handed that he had his cello completely rebuilt with the strings reversed so that the normal bowing he did with his other hand. And so anyway, he was a very serious musician. And so though this original score for this movie was not done by Charlie, later on when he re-released the movie, he wrote music for it. And so in this case, the music is by Charlie Chaplin. So this is what he wanted. This is the music that he had to go with the movie. And so, and I'm a historian of this. I try to always go back into what the people heard when the movies were released. And so it's a real celebration of the 100th anniversary of this. This was a great film. It was one of the top box office draws of the entire silent movie era. And so it's very authentic. Got a big theater, we got a pipe organ, we got an organist who cares about it, and here we go.
Yeah, and I want to ask too, because this is a silent film and then you'll be playing with it. So what does it look like at the Forum? Kind of when you go in and see the show, what's it going to look like in there?
Well, Dennis gives us some slides that were shown back in the day that we'll project as people come in with some 1920s music. And then we'll have an introduction, and the organ rises up out of the pit, and Dennis will explain some things about the film. And we have the large screen in the Forum Theater to show the movie on. We will have a brief intermission in the middle so people can get drinks and popcorn and all. And then the second half of the film. And it's very much like what was back in the day.
And one of the biggest things too, I watched another interview you did. You said that you really want to preserve the silent film era and that it's very important to you. So why ultimately, I know you touched on it a little bit, but why ultimately do you think that we should be saving these and preserving these?
Well, The big reason is that it was an invention of film, but what we have today and what we see is not what was invented. Film was originated December 28th in 1895 in a cafe in Paris. And it was between dancers and a dog act and a comedian. And it was like vaudeville. And movies were shown. And logic says since they all had music accompanying them, then music was with. And it developed as a live music illustration, or the illustrations with the music accompaniment, which makes it into a performance medium. And so it evolved when they added sound to movies. It was Mary Pickford who said that when they added sound to the motion picture, it took a giant step backwards, because silent film was at its peak from about 1925 to 1928, and then killed off by the sound coming to the movies and people talking. They didn't talk. It was more, it's sort of the notion of what it's like to have, you only get a story by reading it in a book, and then they make a picture of it and they make a movie about it. Well, if you really look at things, they're not the same thing. It's a whole different experience. So it has to be preserved, because these were the greatest entertainment form. There was nothing competing with it. Everyone went to the movies. They changed the movies every 3 days. And everybody went to them. No television. Radio hadn't started. So it was the way to be entertained for whole generations. They're now gone. So I just find it vital. I'm not a revivalist. I'm a continuity person. This is the way movies are.
Yeah.
They're different when what's come now. This is the basis. You can see the root of movies with these silent movies, and it's just all a big part of it.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, and I've never seen a silent film as well. So
Oh, you have to come. You have to see this one.
I was thinking about it too, because I love organs too,
Oh, you
and I've
should
never
come.
seen it, so
Oh,
it'd
it's
definitely
great.
be an experience.
And it's a good first one to come to. It's
Okay,
really
perfect.
entertaining. Oh, yeah, really wonderful.
And if people want to find more information on it, how can they go about doing so?
Yes, and we are the best kept secret of the Forum Theater in Binghamton, because the organ is stored in the pit and people don't see it
Yeah, I've never
until
seen it.
we do a performance, and we maintain the instrument as well. So we can find more information on our website, which is binghamtontos.org. TOS standing for Theater Organ Society. binghamtontos.org. And
All
you can
right,
get tickets at
perfect.
the door an hour before the show.
Okay, perfect. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on today. This was so fun. This was a
Thank
great
you.
interview. And good luck, and have fun with this.
Great.
Thank you so much. It'll be great fun.
Yes. For those of you who might have missed those details, the Binghamton Theater Organ Society is hosting a special event on Sunday, December 29th at the Broome County Forum Theater, featuring a screening of the classic 1925 silent film, The Gold Rush, starring Charlie Chaplin. This event is part of the Society's annual tradition of presenting 4 major events each year, celebrating the art of silent films and live music. Attendees will enjoy a unique experience with live accompaniment on the historic theater organ. For more information, please visit binghamtontos.org.